Hey, welcome back to the Youthology Podcast. This week, I want to talk to you about the relationship between the church and parachurch organizations. This is a long-standing relationship. Really, the beginnings of youth ministry can be traced back to a close working relationship with organizations like Youth for Christ in the mid-1900s, the YMCA in the late 1800s, and even welfare centers like soup kitchens and rescue missions in the early 1800s. Hear me, in my 38 years of youth ministry, I cannot remember a time when I did not have a strong, working relationship with the parachurch organizations in my area. It brought so many advantages and benefits that we're going to talk about here on this podcast. It may have been my relationship with Youth for Christ, or Athletes in Action, or Fellowship of Christian Athletes, or Young Life, or Youth Alive. But the relationship between my youth ministry and these orgs was intentional for many reasons. And again, we'll get to these. Let's do two things on this podcast. Let's talk about what a parachurch organization is and why the relationship is so important to the youth ministry. First of all, what is a parachurch or NGO? Maybe you've heard that term, non-governmental organization. What is that? A parachurch ministry is a ministry that operates outside of the confines of a traditional church. While many of these organizations have some type of connection to a church, those taking part in the ministry look at ways that they can give back to the local community and others in needs in ways the church sometimes does not or cannot. So, in general, a parachurch or NGO, non-governmental organization, is similar to the local church, but will often have the freedom of operating two ways: in a faith-based or a non-faith-based approach to their work. Okay, so listen, let's look at two things here. We've defined the parachurch and what it looks like, but why? Why is this relationship so important, right? How do we connect to, as a youth ministry, to a parachurch? Number one, most paras will have two separate working components: non-faith and faith-based approaches. This allows the para to fit within, let's say, a public school's anti-proselytizing guideline through a non-faith-based component, making it welcomed into the school as an asset and not a threat or a violation to the school's anti-religious guidelines. And that helps the church and our connection to, for example, the school. Number two, the church will most often put a lot of effort and resources maintaining our youth programs and, ministering to already churched youth. Too often, churches will send people across the world on mission trips, right, to minister, but will not be as involved as they should be on the local scene. Number three, the para organization is adept at the local scene and has built multiple intentional relationships with government, with education in the schools, at the private sector level. And those relationships are a great assist to the church too. Number four, when the youth ministry volunteers with parachurches, discipleship happens. It builds the faith of teenagers to be on mission at home. Number five, when the youth ministry volunteers with a parachurch organization, apologetics happens. They learn to share their faith. And in too many cases, the church kids are uncomfortable with their faith in the context of their world. And the parachurch introduces them, brings them the opportunity to have a contextualized faith in the setting of their school or their team or their friends. Okay, number six, many parachurch organizations have intentional relationships with social services. With so much depression and other teenage mental health problems, referrals to counseling services or social services happens all the time at the parachurch level. And the church then has this great opportunity to follow the para into that setting. Many of my best leaders throughout the years, number 7, many of my best leaders throughout the years have been parachurch leaders. What a cohesive, symbiotic relationship between para and youth ministry. That connection for the networking is invaluable, right? Listen, number 8, the youth pastor will have a parachurch relationship with a leader and have multiple resources such as, right, the stability and the maturity of that youth, of that parachurch leader who's been at this for a long time, and all the resources that person will bring. And so that relationship is built in both ways. The youth pastor feeding into the parachurch leader and the parachurch leader bringing that experience to the youth leader. That wealth of knowledge, right? Okay, number 9, networking. Wow, the networking relationship that a parachurch leader has is a great assist to a youth pastor who could follow that leader around in the area and be introduced to so many different sectors of people that they may not benefit from, right? All of those open doors that the parachurch has built over the years. If a local church youth ministry wants to build a more effective and healthy youth ministry, look at this, number 10. What has to happen is that partnership between the parachurch and the youth pastor needs to be built in that context of outside of the church, okay? In the world of the teenager outside of the church. We call that contextualization or missiology, right? Listen, we bring you all kinds of topics every week. This one was different. We don't talk about this very often, so hopefully you can read the manuscript right on our website. You can go to the iTunes podcast and listen to this while you work out. Or you can sit at your desk or on your phone and listen to our YouTube channel because this will all be right there. You can get our 4 books and you can get almost 3 decades of blogging if you just go to youthology.com. Don't miss another topic next week. Thank you for joining us.